If you're choosing between someone that's cheap and expensive, you have to look at what the value is that each are providing. If they provide the same exact value, then there shouldn't be a reason to go with the more expensive one if they provide literally the exact same thing. In most cases, literally every business everywhere, though, they're going to provide a lot more value and risk is going to be a lot more lower for you in the expensive options versus the cheap options. And what I see a lot in the Salesforce world is that that doesn't always get pulled out for the customer to see it that way. They just look at two different vendors and they assume they all know the exact same thing and that they're going to do the exact same thing. And so they go with the cheaper option. So, what I want to do in this visualization is break this down with a whole different industry. There's a story that I had to go through this last month with my own personal life. We had to get a water softener put in. We're here in Utah. There's really hard water out here. So, you typically have this thing called a water softener that gets put into your home so that there's not as many minerals and like stuff like that going through your water and makes like showering and cleaning and all the appliances in your house last longer. So we decided to finally do that. We didn't do that when we purchased the home, and it was now time to do that. We were seeing the wear and tear on some of our appliances and things like that. So we called a couple people out. There's these plumbers that show up, and I don't know anything about plumbing at this point, right? So I'm looking at these people that are super cheap versus people that are super expensive. And we have several people come out and talk to us and tell us what they're going to do, and I put together a little visualization explaining the differences here. So this is what this looks like. You would have option A versus option B, and this is going to be the exact same analogy that you're going to get inside of a Salesforce consultant as well. So we're going to stick with the plumbing analogy here, and I'm going to explain as if you don't know what's going on in the Salesforce consulting world, just like I didn't know what was going on in the plumbing world here, okay? So option A, somebody comes out, and basically, what these people would offer me at the very, very cheap route is it's like a friend of a friend, right? It's like somebody in the neighborhood, or like a friend of mine refers to a buddy of his that can come over and do it. Or there's somebody that just has like a local listing that's up or a Facebook ad that's up. Like we could go as cheap as that. We saw those. We didn't really call a lot of those people, but they existed. And those people are basically like, more or less, I know what's going on with plumbing. I work alone. It's just kind of something I do on the side outside of my real job. And I don't really have insurance or anything like that. But the amount of time it's going to take me to go from problem that you have to solving that problem is going to be really low. I could get this cranked out in like a day if you really wanted me to. And the cost is also going to be low because I don't have all this overhead. I'm just doing this on the side. I kind of don't really trust my own judgment. So I don't really want to put you in a position to spend all this money because I might run into some stuff and I might find some things that I don't really know how to handle. Probably won't happen, but just in case, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. So you're looking at option A as something like that. The time to value over here that you can see, there's really not a lot of value that they offer me other than they're saying that they think that they can solve the problem and they can do it fairly quickly. So it's a really cheap cost, and that was option A. Now, option B, who we ended up going with, is this plumber, and then they explain everything that they do once they come out to the house. And you see a lot of it in action. They don't even need to explain it. In option B, this person is also going to be a licensed technician, meaning they've had their certifications done, they work for a legit business, they have to go through certain training to be able to do what they do. So they're licensed. They come in a marked full service vehicle. They're going to cover their shoes when they enter my home. They're going to perform some type of audit before they begin any of the work. They're going to review the problem before they start anything and come and tell me about it. The quote that they give me is accepted for the next 30 days. They're going to protect the home while they work. So in our situation, it was in our basement. We had to tear up the entire ceiling to be able to get back up into the plumbing because, like I said, when we were building the home, we didn't do this in the beginning. So they had to tear into all the drywall up top, and they were going to make sure that they put down like mats and plastic and everything like that so that when they were cutting into that, all that dust and debris would fall into the mats or the plastic, and then they would clean it up afterwards. So after it was all said and done, they vacuumed, they put the furniture back where it all belonged, all that kind of stuff down in our basement. And we also had a situation where our water heater, they pointed this out after they did the audit. We were still under warranty with it. They told us that it was bad. They didn't need to do that for us. And they also let us know that, hey, you probably still have a warranty on it because it lasts for 6 years or so. So we looked it up. We still had the warranty. They handled everything. They took that water heater out. They brought it back, and they got that all covered under warranty, free of cost for us, and put a new one in place because it was covered. So they did that just because they were here and they pointed it out and tried to be extra helpful. They provided some additional quotes for some other things my wife wanted to do inside the house. They came and looked at that, no charge. I know this is kind of a little bit of an upsell for them, right? Because they want to get more work from us, but at the same time, they could have easily said, yeah, we can come look at it. We'll send somebody back out to do that at a later time. We're working on this job now. They didn't do that. They actually just took care of it while they were there with us and gave us another quote. They required any type of approval from us before they began. So when they were in our home the very first time, they did not touch anything. They walked around the whole house with us. They showed us what was going on. They told us about the audit. And they said, we're not going to actually even touch anything. We're just pointing out what the problems are. Until you give us your approval, we're not going to do anything else. They did a full walkthrough after it was done. They showed us what they changed, how they changed it, how to maintain the new systems, where to find the water lines, what they did in the ceiling, how they replaced everything. So they literally walked us through everything that was done. They also gave us a free follow-up a week later. There was a question that we had. They weren't sure if the sink down in the basement was also connected to this new water softener. They didn't know if it was the same line or not, because that was going to require them to dig up more of the ceiling, which they didn't want to do. So they said they could come out for free next week and just check on it and make sure everything was still working the way that we expected and it was connected. They did that and it was great. Along the way, I felt that the best practices were followed and then they completed the job. Now, this wasn't cheap. This was thousands and thousands of dollars to do at the end of the day, but there was a lot more time and value that I felt I got out of this and went into it. I understood that this took a lot of time to do, but I was able to avoid a lot of the cons along the way. Things that maybe won't happen, couldn't happen, but something that you're still kind of like not thinking about that is nice that they do. Like one of those being that they have shoe covers when they walk in the house. Oh yeah, great. I don't have to worry about my carpets getting ruined or things like that. I didn't realize that they would show up and have like a full service vehicle ready to go with 2 people. So they came prepared with the job, kind of a little bit overkill with someone else. Just in case anything went crazy, they had extra material on their vans ready to go. All that kind of stuff played into the whole fact of having a really, really, really solid experience and feeling like, hey, this costed us more, but at the end of the day, this is going to last a lot longer. It was set up correctly. I feel secure with what was done. And if I have a problem, the customer service has been great as well. They've been more than willing to come out of their way to make sure that we were well taken care of. I wouldn't be able to say the same about the same people over here on option A that we also interviewed or had come out to the home. They didn't do any of that. Right. So really, at the end of the day, this is what you're getting. Okay. You're getting option A or you're getting option B. Now, this would be a whole different situation if we had this right here and it was like the exact same thing. Let's say this is option C. And for whatever reason, they just charged a lot more. Okay. Well, if it's the exact same thing, which is a lot of what happens in my world when I take these sales calls, we think, or the customer thinks I'm offering the exact same thing as somebody else. And this is a little bit on me to try to make sure as a business, we line these things out and let you know all the value that you're getting for sure. But it also would be helpful if the client came into these calls understanding that we all are going to offer something a little bit different. Yeah, this guy, quote unquote, kind of knows some plumbing just like this guy does over here. He's going to show up in a vehicle just like this guy is. He's going to take care of the problem just like this guy is. But it's going to look completely different when he's all said and done in comparison to this person over here. Now, did the problem get solved in both of these? Probably. Can I have as much trust in option A as I can in option B? Probably not, right? So you're paying for this safety net. You're paying for the overhead. You're paying to make sure that it's done correctly. And that's the biggest thing that we see when we're working with our clients over here. We'll get into these conversations. Like I say, a lot of the time people want to think that we are doing the exact same thing. And it comes in a few of these different examples that I wrote about in our newsletter last week. One being, if people are pointing out problems just like the plumber did, what do we actually do? Are we going to just fix it on the spot? Are we going to do it without your permission? Are we going to charge you more for it? Are you going to feel like you don't understand why we made the decisions that we made? No, we're going to make sure that we walk through those things, tell you what it's about, tell you what the best practices are, and then let you decide what you would like to do from there so you can weigh the pros and cons and know exactly what you're about to get into. So I shared a couple examples of what happened last week when we worked through this with some of our active clients. So I hope this helps. Really, I'm just trying to make this video to share with you a personal example of what's happened in my life and how I felt this related back to a conversation that I have often with some of our clients and prospects that come through. And really, it is up to you when you come to any type of service or business to come prepared knowing that people are going to offer something a little bit different. And if it comes with more value and takes more time to do, you should be looking at what you want to have the end result be in the next year from now, next 2 years from now. How do you want your Salesforce to look? How do you want it to feel? How do you want it to operate? And what I see a lot of times, people that choose option A in the Salesforce world specifically, is you'll hire someone that doesn't really know what they're doing or has as much experience. And so, yeah, they kind of solve that problem. But by the time you're ready to get acquired or go public, which is super common for these tech companies we work with, you end up spending more money. You'll spend double, triple the cost to undo all of the problems that were done over the years by the cheaper hire in the first place. So also another way to look at it is you're either going to pay for it now and hire someone that's really good at what they do, or you're going to pay for it at the very end because someone didn't know what they were doing. And now you got to make up all of the problems and solve all those problems so that you can either sell the company or IPO and make it all clean. So it's just a problem that you're trading later for the day and usually more expensive. Anyways, I hope this helps. If this is helpful to you, you're looking to consider some type of Salesforce consultant like ourselves, you obviously can find us here on our site. We just uploaded this brand new page over here that's super cool that you can take a look at. I'm trying to be a lot more upfront about our pricing, what we do, the people that you'd work with, how we operate with you guys. So feel free to click on our service one over here. We have some frequently asked questions too for you. This should help solve a lot of the problems you have. And like I said, if today is not the day, you're still looking to try to consider this maybe down the line, you're still in a contract, you're not ready to purchase a Salesforce consulting team to come in and help you yet, you can sign up for our free newsletter that you just saw. And that way we can just kind of give you tips along the way, help you build it out as you're trying to do this maybe a little more DIY. And then when that time comes, you at least know where you can reach us. If that is you, look forward to speaking with you. There's a link below. It'll send you over to the site so that you can sign up for a call with us so we can talk a little bit more. Appreciate it.